Hello and welcome to episode 419 of the Daily Sales Message Podcast, where every single day I share a piece of simple, actionable advice that's designed to help you feel more confident and sell more stuff too. Now, today, we're talking about a visual thing, which can be really difficult if you're listening to this on Spotify. And to be honest, even if you're watching on YouTube, because I have no props, no imagery here, I'm just going to try and do this just through the pure medium of explanation. Let's see if I'm as good as I claim to be. But we're talking about something called kerning. Kerning describes the amount of space between letters, and there's a particular example that always springs to mind. So picture in your mind the word flickering, F-L-I-C-K-E-R-I-G, flickering. If you take so we've got F-L-I at the start. If we take the L and the I, if you put the L and the I together, it doesn't look like an L and an I anymore. It looks like a U. So if you respell flickering, but we have F-U-C-K-E-R-I-N-G, all of a sudden, that does not say flickering. That says something else. And that's an example of kerning. The spacing between letters can affect our perception of those letters. We actually read words by looking at the first and the last letter, and then we kind of guess the middle bit. That's generally how we do it, because we just haven't got the time to go through all of it. So if they're spaced incorrectly, we may guess incorrectly, or it may have a rude connotation. And we see this. We've seen this in the past with domain names in particular. So one that springs to mind, this is probably going to be an X-rated version of the Daily Sales Message Podcast. But there's a company, I can't remember what they do now, but they were called Pen Island. Pen Island. So Pen Island, their domain name for their website is penisland.com, but P-E-N-I-S-L-A-N-D is kind of how it's read. So we don't read it as Pen Island, we read it as Penisland, unfortunately. So, and that's an issue of kerning, because it's the spacing and the ordering of the letters that causes us to guess incorrectly. So the moral of the story in this X-rated episode, before I get cancelled for being too rude, is that where you are sharing your messaging matters, and how it is read matters, and having the spacing between the letters, like the visual nature of how somebody reads your messaging, really, really matters a lot. There's a similar thing, just going slightly off topic, where things are cropped, and I'll never ever forget this for as long as I live. So my logo, Clear Sales Message, is Clear Sales Message. It's a black square with 3 words on top of each other, nice and simple. In the early days of my speaking and presenting career, somebody offered to take a picture of me. I stood in front of my slides, all proud as punch to be giving a talk, stood in front of my logo, but I didn't realize I was obstructing part of the logo behind me. So rather than saying Clear Sales Message, just said Clear Sales Mess. Clear Sales Mess. So I couldn't really use that photo, unfortunately. But these are the kind of things that we have to look out for. It's the physical placement of your messaging in a real world scenario. Would Pen Island be misread as Penisland, and would flickering be misread as the F word ring? Pay attention to that. It might seem jovial and lighthearted on a podcast episode like this, but you could offend people, you could cause a bit of a scene, have all sorts of problems, and more importantly, just not be understood for what you're actually trying to sell and not get your point across. And that's the name of the game. Right, thank you for listening or watching all the way to the end. I appreciate it. Tomorrow in episode 420, we're going to be talking about an app on the App Store that helps you understand the pollen count in your area. I'm going to cover that tomorrow and explain why. I've already done that in the meantime. But in the meantime, thank you for listening, watching all the way to the end for a second time. I'll catch you tomorrow for hopefully a more rehearsed edition of the Daily Sales Message.